Welcome back. In this lesson, we're going to talk about cluster chord voicings. So first we're going to say what cluster voicings are, then I'm going to give you some examples, then I'm going to show you where they might be useful, and I'm going to end up by playing a piece, just a small illustration of how cluster voicings might be used and what kind of sound they give you. So first, the explanation. A cluster voicing of a chord is a voicing where the notes are bunched together. In a more theoretical language, it's a voicing in which the notes have distances that are either one semitone or two semitones. So here is a C major chord, and you see that the notes from the C to the E we have 4 semitones, 1, 2, 3, 4. From the E to the G we have 3, 1, 2, 3. And so this is not a cluster voicing of C. But if I add this D here, suddenly I get a cluster voicing. So now I have two notes that are 2 semitones apart, 1, 2, and two notes that are another 2 semitones apart, 1, 2. I can keep on adding degrees to the note, to the chord. So I can add the 4th as well. Or I can omit, say, the 2nd and the 4th and add the 7th down here. This is also a cluster voicing. This is another example. So let me give you a few useful forms. I'm going to give them for C, and you're going to transpose them to all of the other keys. So let's start with the C major. So here's the C major chord, and the first cluster voicing is obtained by adding the 4th degree of the C major scale, which is F. The second voicing is this. Here I add the 2nd degree, which is a D. A third version is obtained by adding both. Now you can extend these cluster voicing shapes to 7th chords. So here's a C7 chord, and one particular cluster voicing that can be had is this. Here's another one. Here's another one. This is not strictly a C major 7th chord because I'm omitting the 3rd. So what I have here, if I just move the notes around, I'm going to omit the C here. I'm going to take this B up an octave. This is a C major 7th sus2. So the 3rd becomes a 2nd. And finally, now you can extend these ideas to a 7th chord as well. For example, in this last voicing, if I had a C7th or dominant 7th chord, then I would simply use, instead of the 7th, the flattened 7th. So my voicing would be this. Cluster voicings tend to sound really good on electric pianos and strings. So I'm going to switch to an electric piano, and just playing a few, I think you'll get the idea. Let's look at an example with some string sounds. So to give you this sort of modern film sound that might be appeasing to some of you. So your job is to simply take the different forms I've showed you and transpose them to all different keys. And then just play around and see what sort of, just move around between chords or take songs that you already know and try to use cluster voicings to play them slightly differently than you might be used to. I'm just going to finish up with a small piece that uses cluster voicings. It's going to be just a slow piano piece that I think has kind of a jazz sound to it. So I hope that conveyed the kind of sound that you can expect from cluster voicings and that you learned something interesting. I'll see you next time.